welcome to another episode of Scary Stories with Kalila. I've got a treat for you guys tonight. This story comes to us from back in the 90s. The gentleman who's telling us the story is actually a friend of mine, and he kept this story to himself for a number of years because he was so freaked out by what happened to him. When he finally shared the story with me, it even disturbed me. And I don't get disturbed very easily, but I'm always talking about poltergeist, the noisy ghost or the disturbed ghost. And I'm always the first one to say it's a lot of times the energy coming from the people in the home, not from a spirit. But I think if anybody had a poltergeist, it was this guy right here. So I want to introduce to you Tony Dupeire. And he lived in a haunted house. Now, everybody knows the young lady down at the bottom. That is Miss Renee Marie, the famous psychic and the host of Renee Live. And Renee got involved in this because after Tony shared the story with me, I shared a photograph with Renee, and Renee actually did a reading on it. Welcome, guys. Thank you, guys, for showing up today.
Hi.
Thank you, Tony. I'm excited about this.
Thanks for
I've been
having
talking to Tony for a long time about doing this, telling this story, and so we're finally getting to do this. So this house, this place that you lived in, now where was this? This was in Indiana? Where was
Indiana, yes, Indiana. It was the early 90s, 90, actually I moved in 92, like in the summer of 92 into this house. I had moved to Shelbyville as I was managing the new Shoney's that opened up there. And it was like the biggest thing that ever hit Shelbyville, town of like 8,400 people.
Oh, wow. Wow,
and then,
yeah.
And I found this great half a double duplex, and it was at a great price. I was like, wow, this was the cheapest place I could find in town. And it's a nice half a duplex. And the house, I found out later, I doing some research on it, was built in 1900 was the house. And so when I moved in, the house was 92 years old at the time. And it was split. It was once a single family house, and it was split into a double, exactly the same on both sides.
Yeah, and we're not going to tell the story just yet. I want to talk about your experience because Renee, our psychic, who's here to give her reading on the picture, she does not know the backstory. So we're going to let you tell your story of your experience there, get Renee to tell hers, and then we'll let you tell the history of the house to see if what she was able to pick up on. But now you lived there with some friends, right? Or were they just visiting you? Because I know he had a friend that also experienced.
Well, my friend, she spent a lot of time at the house,
Yeah, because she had a horrible experience.
My girlfriend, actually, at the time.
Okay. So she had a terrifying experience, and I actually touched base with her. She reached out and then decided not to talk about it because, according to her, she had this terrifying experience, and whatever it was started coming back after her about 20 years later. And yeah. That's pretty scary. So Tony, tell the story like you told it to me about the actual experience as to what happened there, because it's very weird.
I had no experience whatsoever with any paranormal activity up until this point, so I didn't think anything of it. When I moved into the house, everything seemed normal, and I always kept my house very meticulous. I'm a Virgo, so I'm like obsessed with cleanliness and having everything straightened up. Don't look behind you, though. But anyway, I just noticed, different stuff happening, and sometimes you forget to do things and stuff. But I would never forget to close my kitchen cabinets and stuff. And so I'd come down in the morning and I'd look, and my 4 chairs around my kitchen table, 2 of them would be like pulled out. And I was like, wow, but we wasn't sitting here last night. I didn't even think anything of it. I was like, okay, pushing back in. Oh, the cabinets are left. Why are these cabinets open? What's the reason behind that? And I didn't think anything of it. But then as I was watching TV in the living room and everything, I had a cat, Bubba was his name. And this cat was a very shallow meower, Matter of fact, he didn't meow very much at all. Then all of a sudden, often he would go to the bottom of the stairs and he'd be staring up the top of the stairs with this guttural meow. Wow, and I don't know. I mean, I've never talked to psychics before either. And can animals sense something more than humans, or?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
especially cats. I mean, cats
I mean,
are
she
very
would try
sensitive
to
to that.
stare up at the top of the stairs with
Oh, all the time.
this noise she made, and it, and I'd be like,
Well,
get out
that's
of
the
here.
noise. I mean, I don't know how many cats you've had. I know you have one now, but
Yeah.
that's the noise they make when they are frightened or threatened. If you get a cat that's
Yeah,
getting ready to get into a fight,
she
that's
was
the sound they're
definitely
making.
frightened. She never was right in the house and everything. And like I said, I spent a lot of time, with my girlfriend over there, and different stuff happened, and as time progressed and everything, just I would imagine that the first really thing we came home late one night, and it was like she jumps on the table as we walk in the house. I'm like, "What's going on?" She goes, "Turn around," and I look, and there's a bat in the kitchen.
No. Oh.
Even my cat came running in the kitchen. All of a sudden, started backing off. I was like, "I'm not messing with that." And it was an actual bat, and I don't know how it got in the kitchen or where it came from or whatever. I just put a box on it and shimmied it out the side door, because the south side of the house is where my driveway was, and that's where you parked and you walked in through the kitchen to get to the dining room and into the front living room. So that was like the first weird thing that happened. And then I guess after that, it was like one night we were sleeping, and we woke up in the middle of the night, and it was blazing hot in the house. I mean, blazing hot. And we were like, "What's going on?" I would go down the stairs, and I could barely touch the wooden staircase. Was like so hot you could almost barely touch it. And I went up, and the heater was like kicked all the way up to over 100. We had to open the windows. It was 20 degrees outside just to cool the inside of the place off. And neither one of us, nobody was downstairs, messing with it when we went, to sleep. And so she became a little skeptical herself. She was like, different stuff was happening. And my brother, I was telling my brother about it. He had lived in Terre Haute, Indiana, and this was Shelbyville. And I was managing the restaurant there. He was part owner and regional manager. Indiana stores, like 5 of them in Indiana. And he used to have to go on runs to where he would visit each store, every couple of days. And he would stay overnight. And I said, "Why don't you just stay over at my place?" And I, no, I got a hotel here in Shelbyville, right, by the store. And I'm telling these stories, and he was very skeptical. And he just said, "Oh, well, let's just come over." Matter of fact, the Saints were playing on a Monday night game. And he said, "I'm going to come over to the house, and we'll watch the game. We'll have a couple beers." I said, "Okay, great." So he came over, knocked on this kitchen door. I opened the door. We walked in. We walked through the kitchen. We didn't make it 2 steps into the dining room. And he says, "Oh, let's get some beer." We turned around. Every kitchen cabinet was open. That quick. And all of them at 90 degrees. Not 30, not 45, 90-degree angles. Every one of them. My brother became a believer then, that night. I mean, he was very skeptical. And he kind of didn't even want to stay in there after that. Matter of fact, he didn't stay. He left, I told him that this stuff started happening shortly after I moved in. And
Now, didn't you have some situation? I vaguely remember you telling me about something where you physically actually saw something physically move in front of you. Wasn't there?
Oh, that's when my friends, after this happened with Tracy. Well, we had one night. She had her 4-year-old child at the time, and stayed a lot with her grandmother, her mother, and stuff. And she would stay over there a lot also. So one night she was staying over there, and I worked late, and I got off late, and it was like midnight. And I got home. Now this is the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. And I got home, I walked in the kitchen, I was going up the stairs, and I just had a weird feeling. And when I opened my bedroom, faced the corner, it was a corner house, and there was a street light on the corner. So the light would come in through the side window and the north window, and it would come in both sides. And the room was pretty lit up where I really didn't even have to turn on the light to use it. But when I opened the door, this is going to sound so weird, that the whole room was like a negative of a picture. The whole room was illuminated, and where the light should be shining in was black, like a picture of a negative. You're looking at a negative of a picture. And I was like, I set my 1 foot down because the floor was black. I couldn't see the floor. And I just sat 1 foot in, tapping on the floor. And when I went to go walk into the room, there was like an entity that was right in front of me as I took a step in. And right when I walked into it, freezing cold. Freezing cold. I just shut my eyes. I said, no, no, no. And when I opened my eyes, everything was normal again. The light from the street lights was coming in. The room was normal. And I mean, that scared the heck out of me. I didn't know what to think.
That would have freaked me out. I mean, just you telling me about it freaked me out. And I mean, was that the night that Tracy left? Because I know at one point
no.
Because she had an experience there as well, right?
Well, that was pretty much one of the final straws. She never went back in the house after that night. I meeting the kitchen manager there. My kitchen manager's name was Brian. I was trying to get all these timelines right down, and I was meeting him at 5 o'clock to go over prep sheets and stuff for the restaurant. And she was there, and I kissed her, goodbye and everything. It was probably about 4:45 because it's only like a 10-minute drive to work. And I get to work, and my kitchen manager's there in the parking lot. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. We walk up to the door, and I hear the phone ringing in the store. I'm like, wow, well, why is the phone ringing? So I open up the door, and we shut the door. I turn the alarm off, and I go answer the phone, and it's Tracy. She's hysterical. She is like totally hysterical. You got to come back home. You got to come back. You got to come back. I said, what's happening? She goes, I'm not in the house. I'm not in the house. I'm down the street. 1 block down, there was a little country store where the proprietors lived upstairs. There was no 7-Elevens or anything in Shelbyville at this time, and they had a little country store downstairs and payphone outside. I just hate to say it, before the time of, cell phones or anything. But anyway, she was hysterical. I mean, totally hysterical. So I told my kitchen manager, I'll be right back. I only lived like 10 minutes from Shelbyville. It's not that big. And when I went back over there to pick her up, I mean, she was white. She was pale. All the blood was out of her face. She was standing there in a robe, barefoot, in 10-degree weather, and shaking like a leaf. She jumped in the car and everything and grabbed me, She goes, go get my stuff out of the house. Go get my stuff out of the house. She goes, I said, what are you talking about? She goes, I'm never staying there again. I said, what happened? What happened? What happened? She said, well, after you left, she said, you woke me up when you kissed me goodbye and everything. And then next thing I knew, I heard you coming back up the stairs because the stairs creaked. Like I said, the house was 100 years old. And the stairs creaked. She said, I heard you coming back up the stairs. I heard the bedroom door open, and I felt you pressed down on the bed, laying down next to me. And here I am. I'm like, she's telling me this in the car. She said she turned over and just saw an impression in the bed, in the pillow. And she bolted out of the house, and she never went back in the house after that. And I can't quite blame her either, that's
right.
That's an experience I did not want to, She was like, I can't do that. So I guess I think we did break up after that, because she never wanted to go back in that house. And I didn't want to kind of live there either,
Yeah,
But
that is
so I was
frightening.
like 9 months, 8 months into a lease, 1 year lease there. And I told the guy, I said, can I break my lease? And he says, oh, you're going to have to pay, this and that, and I'll sue you, And the owner of the house lived in the other half of the double. Speaking of which, it's on sale now. Average prices I found out it's 134,000 in that neighborhood. This house is for sale for 17,500.
Wow. Well, let me get that. Let me get the house up on the screen so we can share what it looks like to everybody
Yeah,
because it is very it's rather disturbing looking, and you can tell nobody's lived in it for a very long time.
no, she told me no one has been in there a long time. She said someone moved in there. 2 months later, they moved out.
Yeah, I bet. Well,
2 months.
let's get the picture up on the screen now. There we go. There we go. Now
Yeah.
this is a very disturbing looking house. I mean, it's your typical, what you would see of a haunted house. I mean, it looks spooky because obviously it hasn't been tended to for a very, very long
Yeah,
time.
that was
But
my bedroom window right up there.
there's an
Yeah.
ominous feeling. Now, I sent that picture, the picture that's still up there. I
Oh,
did
yeah.
send that picture to Renee.
That's a
And
great
this was
picture.
back when you first told me the story, and I sent it to Renee, and I'm like, just, I didn't tell her anything. I said, just tell me what you get off of this. So, Renee, why don't you tell us what you felt when you first got the picture?
Well, definitely, it has some activity. Some of it is possibly an intelligent spirit. The other is a lot of residual energy within
Mm-hmm.
the home. I'm picking up that it was on the right side of the house when I initially saw the picture, um, and that there's definitely a portal in there. So there's been many families that have lived in this home, obviously through the years, and you don't know what kind of activities that they've done to even stir things up. Do you know what I'm saying? Um, Especially if it's happening only on one half of the house and not the other half. The
Right.
other thing I picked up is that there was definitely a death in there. Um, and I was kind of curious as to if it was, I do pick up a male energy having, been in there and being in there, but also that it was a possible hanging, maybe in the attic. Um, but it's almost a combination of both an intelligent spirit and residual energy. But there's definitely something in there. Definitely something in there.
I
Yeah,
always,
I feel
years
it was very
later,
ominous.
yeah, years later, I thought, boy, I saw the paranormal investigators. I said, boy, this would be the house to investigate. Let me tell you, because it would have some energy in it that would be, I would bet my life on it that there would be some kind of energy you would find in that house. And about 3 months, maybe, I guess, let's see, yeah, it was February, March, April, May, about May. My kitchen manager, he had a new girlfriend. He said, oh, I'm going to bring a new girlfriend over, and she has a friend, you want to come over and party, And I said, yeah, come over. So we came over, they came over and everything, and he knew the story of the house. He knew, what was going on, the different stuff that was going on and everything. So we decided, oh, let's have a seance, in the living room here. And that turned out to be a really bad idea. Very bad idea. So we just gathered around a table and we had three candles lit. We were trying to summon any energy, any spirits that were in the house and everything. And it was very strange because of the candles, the flames on the candles were going like 8 to 6 inches high as we were doing it. And I had two figurines, and I do have the figurines on this side, yeah, they're on the table there. I still had the figurines, and I put them on top of the TV, on both ends of the TV, and just for I don't know for what idea and everything. But as we were doing it, and we were doing this, trying to call on a spirit or something, we noticed that it looked like they were moving closer together. I don't know if it was our imagination or not, but they were definitely closer together than when I first put them on there. And about 3/4 of the way, when we were through, I had this stupid idea. I said, well, let's prick our fingers with a knife and put the blood in the wax of the candles. I had no idea where that came from or why I said that. But I said, I went into the kitchen to get a knife, and I had a butcher block of knives, one of those wooden blocks with the knives in them. And when I went in the kitchen, one of the knives was out of the thing laying on the counter already. Look, I'm getting goosebumps as I'm telling this story because I said, no, we got to stop. We got to stop this. I knew right then and there. And when I walked back into the room and they were in there, and I said, guys, we can't do this anymore. And I looked, I said, why not? I said, turn around. The two figurines were completely together on top of the TV. The two girls yelled and ran out of the house. They were gone. And I don't know what. And then after, when I found out about the story about the twins' house in Shelbyville, Indiana. Now, nobody knows where this house is. The story is that the father was very abusive, had twin boys, very abusive to his mother. And they had, a nice house in Shelbyville. And he roughed up at their mother one night and strangled their mother. So maybe where you're getting the hanging feeling from. Strangled her to death. And that night, the two boys killed their father, stabbed him to death. I don't know if it was in that house or not.
But the house that they lived in, that was a single house, and that house where you lived had one time been a single house. Is that not correct?
Yes. But the story says that after this happened, the boys were found, that it was self-defense and everything. They got off, and the story goes that they took the house and they made a double out of it. And on July, what was it? I found out, I did a little bit more research, and on July 4th of 1940, the two twins got in a fight in the house, and they wound up killing each other in the house, stabbing each other to death. So 3 people were stabbed in the house. Like I said, I don't know if it's that house, but it makes me think why, because it was split into a double. The story has it being split into a double. And this is, after I found this out, I think back on that seance with the knife cutting, with the knife and everything.
And wanting you to cut yourself, yeah.
Yeah, right. And what was going to happen after that,
Something was going to attach to you.
Each other to death or something? It was crazy. It was just
something was trying to attach to you or somebody.
And then my friend, she later on, after she moved out, never came back to the house and everything. She had an experience where she went to a psychic and everything, and she got the name Stolas, Stolas. Now, I don't know if you know anything about that, but I kind of looked it up. Stolas is the fallen angel. A fallen angel. A demon spirit of Solomon. That's what a psychic told her. Because she went to a psychic after this whole incident and everything. So she had gotten a dream catcher. And I don't know if, is there any possibility that a dream catcher that could be used as a portal for any kind of energy to pass through?
Well, when you like a seance or anything, or use a Ouija board or anything like that, you're opening up a portal. Mm-hmm. And so when you open the portal, you have to be able to close that portal, know how to close it after you're done. Because you're allowing things in that you don't know that are coming in.
Yeah. Well, like I said, she she was having all these bad, dreams about the same situations and stuff. And she had this dream catcher, and she called her brother over, and he told her to get rid of it. Just get rid of it. If you feel that way about it, get rid of it. So they took it out in the backyard and everything, and they tried to light it on fire, and it wouldn't burn. A wooden dream catcher, it wouldn't burn. So they put lighter fluid on it, and it still wouldn't burn.
Wow.
So they wound up burying it in her backyard. And then after they buried it, she hasn't had any bad experiences, and that's why she didn't want to do this show, because she was afraid that something might come back up, And I still talk to her to this day, and I asked her one more time, I said, if you want to change your mind and come on, it's Friday night and everything, and I never even heard back from her. So that terrified her that night. I mean, I remember that night like it was last night. It could have been last night. That's how terrified she was. And just the weirdest stuff in there happening in there. And then the thing with the seance, and the illuminated room, that blew me away.
Bizarre. Have you ever heard of that, Renee? Seeing a room like in reverse illumination like that? I haven't heard of
I've never heard of that. I've never experienced it before, so that's kind of new to me.
Yeah, well, it was new to me too. Very new to me. As soon as I opened up the door, it was like a negative of a picture. Remember the old negatives?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A film, you would be looking at, and everything that was should have been light was dark, and everything that should have been dark was light. And it was illuminated in like a blue glow.
That's bizarre. Yeah, it's a very strange story. I don't think I've ever heard quite anything like this. I totally believe that there was definitely a negative entity in there. And I feel like this was something, especially something trying to entice you to cut yourself and put your blood on it, because, something like that, you would be feeding that spirit.
That doesn't even sound like me.
No, it doesn't sound like you, but it sounds like something that an entity, see these earthbound entities, there's a lot of, entities that, I'm sure you're familiar with near-death experiences, right? And people who talk about going into the tunnel and they see the light and they're moving, and they usually mention other spirits in the tunnel with them. They also sometimes see animals and so forth. But lots of times, 9 out of 10 times, they're going to mention that there were some spirits in the tunnel that were not moving forward. And this is your earthbound entities. When you encounter intelligent hauntings like this is what you're dealing with. You're not dealing with, your loved one who passes through the light and they're on this higher realm, able to come back and forth and give you messages. You're dealing with a totally different type of entity, and they're not very highly evolved. As you know, Tony, everything is vibration. Everything in the whole universe is vibration, and these are lower vibrational spirits. And this has been researched for years and years and years, and many psychologists and psychiatrists believe that a lot of these entities stay attached to negative behavior, addictions, earthly pleasures, and what they want to do is attach to a human body so they can experience these things.
That's what I think it attached to her,
It may have. I think it was looking for someone to attach. And, before I even sent the house, and I wanted to bring in a separate psychic so it wasn't just me going, oh, well, I think this. But the minute you told me that story, when you told me about the figurines, that's where it really was like, whoa, this is so, that really creeped me out, was that the figurines moved, and it was like, okay, I know, being a physical medium, I know how hard it is to get physical phenomena to happen, and it's like, whoa, this is something pretty solid. But I didn't know that they were trying to cut you.
Time,
What's that?
It was like it happened over time. It was like in a 30-minute period that we were having this, quote, seance. And, every time we would look over there and it'd be like, God, wasn't those kind of more on the end of the TV than 3/4 off the way? And then when I went to the kitchen, like a dummy, and I had no idea where that came from, I just had this stupid idea of, cutting our finger and dripping the blood into the wax of the candle. And
I'm glad
Whether
you didn't do that. I think that would have been a very bad idea. I think that
Yeah.
would have been, I think that would have sealed the deal there because you don't want to give any kind of a spirit like that your blood. I mean, that's your, that's part of who you are. So obviously you don't
I don't
want to
know
do
where
that.
that idea came from, to be honest with you.
Well, it comes from them. These negative entities, they
When I
put
went into the
these
kitchen and that
ideas into
knife
your
was laying
heads.
on the counter out of the block, it was sitting there. It was like, go ahead, here it is. Take it.
Right, they
Do it.
influence you. They're
And that's when I knew it was time
putting
over.
thoughts in your head.
Game over.
Yeah. But what concerns me is that, like Renee says, you and your friends, unwittingly opened a portal by conducting this seance and you never closed it.
Mm.
And I think that's where a lot of the residual, trouble comes in is that once you open it up, it never got closed. So, you know, the rule is if you open a door, know what's behind the door and know how to shut it. And that's what
Yeah.
concerns me. And the first thing I would recommend is a huge spiritual cleanse for you, and your friend, your ex girlfriend
Really, from her, I never had any more experiences,
well, she
after I
said
moved
she
out of
told
the
me
house.
that 20 years later it came back after her, or
Well,
she believes that it did.
that's when I told you about that dream catcher that came
Yeah.
over, and her brother, they tried to burn it. It wouldn't burn. They even poured lighter fluid on it and it
Yeah,
would not
that's.
burn.
I mean, what do you make of that, Renee?
I don't know. I don't even know what it was made of.
It was made of wood.
Just all wood.
Yes, it was the wooden circle, with the feathers and everything. And they poured lighter fluid on it and it would not catch on fire.
Huh. I don't know. And where did it come from? It came from the house or?
No, no, no. It was never at the house. This is something she had gotten years later. I don't know why and for what reason and everything. But
Well, one
yeah,
of the things too, that I'm going to recommend for people, if you have something you think is haunted, you never burn it. That's one of the things that you never do. It should be buried it should be buried off the property with sea salt and like obsidian or tourmaline mixed in with the sea salt, buried and forgotten.
yeah. Well, that's what they finally did with it. They
Yeah.
buried it.
Yeah, you never want to take like a Ouija board or anything like that you think is haunted and try to burn it because
Yeah, I've never
you'd
done
be
that.
opening up a can of worms.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I just
yeah. I mean, because Renee, you work with attachments. Don't you feel that? I mean, I feel like this was something trying to attach to him, trying to make
Um,
that connection.
it's possible. I think it was more. I think it was the male, that initially the father and maybe even the sons. And I think with her laying in bed and seeing the impression, feeling it, spirits can do that. Any spirit can lay down on a bed next to you
oh, she
and leave.
felt the bed pushed down and everything.
Yeah, they
She
can
felt
do
the
that.
bed
They
falling down
can. It's
next to her.
all about energy. They can do that. And so he was laying down next to her, which either reminded him of maybe his wife or he liked her or
All right, I didn't think that.
for whatever reason, because the spirits can, because I do this thing called the angelic hold with people who are grieving, and they can feel their loved one, either like lay down next to them or actually give them a hug, and it helps with the grieving process. So spirits are very capable of doing that.
So can spirits like come into your subconscious, like when you're sleeping?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Okay, because
That's
It's like
that's that's when you're open to it. Yes, absolutely.
that's about
That's when you're
6 years ago. My
susceptible.
father passed away in 1994. That's the reason I had moved up to Indiana, and I guess about 6 years ago, I had a dream, and I was in dreams are so sketchy, and I was in some like large area, like a Grand Central Station type of train station or something, and my father had been in a wreck, when I was a small kid, and a bad wreck, and he had cut his head and had to shave his head, and so he wore this hat. He never wore hats, but he wore a hat so his hair grew back, and so in the dream, I was walking. All of a sudden, he was walking by like 20 feet in front of me, and he turned to me. And I used to go by Dennis, my middle name, when I was younger. And he turned to me. He said, "Dennis?" I said, "Dad?" And he walked up to me and he says, "How you doing?" I said, "I'm doing fine." He goes, "I haven't seen you in so long." I said, "Dad, you've been dead for 20 years. He goes, "I know, but I'm still keeping an eye on you." And I woke up out of bed. I was like, whoa. I mean, I was talking to him as I'm talking to you, you know.
Yeah, well, I think that was a visitation from your dad. I mean, he was letting you know he was keeping an eye on you, that he was
Yeah.
still
And it
connected
was
to
so
you.
many
And
years
you see,
later.
that's very different. You know, as you can tell, it's a very different type of experience than what you experienced in that house. I mean,
Oh,
you know,
that
'cause
house.
your
Yeah,
dad
that
didn't
house.
show up. Your dad was showing up to comfort you,
Right.
and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Which I thought
he
was
was
pretty
there to.
cool, you know.
That is cool. Oh, it's wonderful. It's a beautiful thing. It's a gift. It's really a gift to have something like that. I think it's a wonderful thing. But
But when he said, "Oh, it's been so long since I've seen you," I was like, "I know you've been dead for 20 years." I said it so matter of fact too to him. I said, "I know you've been dead for 20 years. That's why we haven't seen each other." He said, "I know, but I still watch you."
oh,
And I
that's
thought that was
sweet.
so cool, you know.
That is cool. That's a wonderful
But
thing.
yeah, that house is it was bad news, you know. It's on the market now. Well, it's off market. I don't, it's owned by some corporation, so I don't know if it was foreclosed on or something or whatever, but it looks like it's going downhill, you know. No, nothing's being done to it.
Oh, I'd open that baby right up to one house again, and
Oh yeah, somebody will come along, but the minute they start tearing open
Yeah, and
stuff,
renovate
it's
it.
gonna
Yeah, 'cause
kick.
it's a
It's
nice
gonna
little
kick it up
neighborhood. All
again.
the houses are really nice around it.
But
But
you know,
that
when they start tearing down walls and stuff, that kind of shifts the energy again, and it just, you know, it can open up a lot of
see,
energy.
what
that
I
house
did,
I had a basement in it that I never went in because it was right next to right in the kitchen. It was next to the refrigerator, and it was only about wide enough for one body to go in the door. And the steps went 4 steps down and 4 steps to the right. I went down there and just peeked down there one time, and it was like, "Nah, no, 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 no. I'm not going down in
I
that
wouldn't be a big
basement."
fan of that either. I wouldn't want to do that either. I don't blame you.
I was not going to go down in that basement.
see, I
But
don't think that they were causing harm. That's the whole thing either. They
I
weren't
didn't
like
think so.
causing physical harm. When they communicate with you or put things in your head, it's like a telepathic communication. So they can put ideas into your head. They can communicate, through you, through your subconscious, right? Telepathically. Like,
Right.
I could send a telepathic message to Kalila, and she might pick it up, and then, she could send one back to me. And that's how spirits even communicate with us, with, being, psychic mediums and stuff. So it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like a telepathic communication. So to get you to do that, they were trying to convince you to get the knife and to put your blood into
That's when I knew I had to get out of there because
right.
up until then it wasn't
But they
anything.
didn't want you in there because that's their house. That's their house, and it's very simple. I mean, it's simple for me to get them out and to clear it, and to clear the energy and everything else. But that's their house. So one of the things I tell people is if they've got a spirit that's just opening up cabinets and moving things and stuff like that, you are the one always in control. You are always in control because you're alive and they're not. And as long as you know you're in control, you can speak firmly and say, we can coexist or you need to leave. I recognize this was your house at one time, but it's mine now and we can coexist or you can leave.
Well,
And
that's
the
what
firmer you
happened when I
are,
walked into that room. And I walked into the entity and it was freezing cold. And I just shut my eyes and I said, "No." And everything was back to normal, you
it
know?
can be it can be scary for some people, and
Well,
especially
it was scary for me, that's for sure.
you see different shows even back then on TV, or we all grow up hearing ghost stories, so we've already
Oh
got
yeah.
that kind of creepy factor going on. with us. And so we, and a lot of my clients, some of them will be like really afraid and some of them aren't, and it's just who we are. It's
Mm.
the unknown, and they weren't causing any physical harm to anybody, but they were letting you know I'm there. So they were trying to get you out of the house because that was their house. So this is what I'm saying is you need to firmly say, I get it. I understand, but I'm here now. You're not. You're dead. We can either coexist or you need to leave.
That's
And
what I kind of felt like when
firm
all
about
this
it.
weird stuff was happening. It was like, okay, you can do, move the chairs, whatever. It's not bothering me. I can just put them back or whatever. It wasn't doing any physical harm to me, you know. But then, like I said, when the
Yeah,
knife and
yeah,
everything, I don't know where that could have went if I
right.
went through with it. So.
Right. And and like I said, it can be very scary, especially if you're not used to it. You know what I'm saying? So it
I
Yeah,
can be
wasn't.
that's
I
very,
had
very scary.
no experience whatsoever with any kind of paranormal activity until that house. So
well, no more seances for you, Tony.
even though I did believe in afterlife and all that stuff, and being caught between moving on in another realm,
Right.
I did believe that. I mean, I grew up born and raised in New Orleans, of course,
Yeah.
How could you not
How
believe,
could you not?
one
That's
of the,
right.
one of the most haunted cities in the nation. But
That's
it was
true.
just quite the adventure. Like I said, I wish my friend could have came on, but
Yeah,
she was just
I was hoping she would, and I tried to coax her, but I
she was
understand,
brave.
and I understand, and I respect her stand on that. And
Yeah, so do I.
if anytime with any of this, if you feel uncomfortable with something, and your gut feeling is saying, "Listen, I don't think I should talk about this," then you got to follow your gut feeling.
Mhm.
Always, you
Yeah,
always have to follow your intuition. If that's basically what she was feeling, then I respect the fact that she didn't feel safe or comfortable doing it, and that certainly she needs to protect her feeling of
well, I was,
safety
I
more
was
than
I was
anything.
there. I saw the terror on her face that night, enough to run out of a house in 10-degree weather barefoot, you
Yeah.
know, and nothing
Yeah,
but a
that's she said it
pajamas
was
and a
she said
robe.
it was very intense. She absolutely she briefed me a little bit on it, and she just I think she had intended to want to come on and talk about it, and I think once she
She
started
did.
giving a
She
lot of
did.
thought to it, she just was kind of like, I don't feel comfortable doing this, and she did the right thing. But what I would say for you is, I mean, because you haven't had any kind of anything like this happen since then, right?
No, no, nope.
Okay, yeah. I would just say
Except for
just
that
start.
one that picture that I did show you that I took the early morning out at I was working at K Acosta, and it was a foggy morning. The sun hadn't come up yet. There was like a light showing, by the tennis courts, and there was a swamp area. And I took the picture and I said, "Oh, this will make a great picture with the mist and everything." And I took the picture, and then when I looked at the picture, I said, "What is that in the middle of the field?" And I sent you the pictures, and it was
Yeah.
like a bluish glowing ribbon type of thing, and it was very strange. And then all of a sudden, it started moving toward me, and as it was moving toward me, it was like folding over itself toward me, and I was like, I took one more picture of it, and then I ran.
I mean, to me, I would say this is some sort of entity of some type. To me, I'm going to send it to you, Renee. I'll forward these to you, and you can see what you think. I mean, to me, it's not really an orb, but it's an odd shaped little blue light. Let's just put it
It
that way.
is. It's
But
like a ribbon.
it's moving across
The
this
field.
field. Yeah, it's very strange. It is very strange, and it
I wish
seems
I
to be
could have got
very
a
out of
video of it.
place. Yeah, because
But
the
I wish I
first
could.
one you
I was
sent
like,
me, it was way far back, and then it started moving forward. So Renee,
yeah.
I'm gonna send you these, and you can let
When it got close to me, that's when I took off. I was like, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what want to know what it was. It was
yeah,
very very
it was
strange.
interesting. I mean, it wasn't terrifying looking, but I think it's definitely something. You know, now that was taken at where you live now, though, right? And
Yeah, yeah, in St. Petersburg. Yeah, when I was
yeah.
working out at Cayo Costa, it was a homeowners association I was working for, and that was like a community area by the tennis courts, and they were located what outlet to Tampa Bay,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like a middle of the field, and like I said, I thought it'd make for a nice picture with the
It was a
mist and
nice
the light
picture.
shining.
That was an odd
I didn't
looking
expect that to
anomaly
be in
there.
the
Yeah,
picture.
it was definitely an odd looking anomaly in there, and you
And
could
you
see
saw
that it's
this
moved
without the
forward.
camera? You
What's
saw
Yeah.
this
that?
Yes.
with your naked eye?
Yes. Because when I took the picture and everything, I wasn't even looking at that. I was kind of looking mainly at the light shining through the mist of the tennis court and the fencing and everything. And I looked at the picture and I said, "What the heck is that in the middle?" Then I turned and looked, and it was moving toward me, and it was so weird because it was like folding over itself back and forth like this, you know. And it got
It
to the
doesn't.
point where it got to the corner of the fence. I took another picture of it, and then I ran. You know, I'm not ashamed to say that.
The second
It's
picture, Kalila, where it's further away,
yeah.
enlarge that.
The first one is further away, and then
Yeah,
Oh,
the one where it's in the middle of the field was the first picture.
okay.
yeah.
So the one in the middle of the field, blow that up and take a look and see what you see right at the top of it.
Is it a reflection or something? Or
Okay, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think in this particular computer I'm going to be able to blow it up.
Is it in your phone?
No, well, maybe. Let me see. Let me see if I can get it in my phone. Yeah, because I've got to go to Messenger. Yeah.
I see you have your cross there behind you, there, Renee.
I do. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
always had one behind the head.
Okay, you talking about the shadow that's up above it?
You see mine by my front door there, right? When I come in.
Yeah, yeah.
Renee, you talking about the shadow right there?
The like right above it, like right at the tip of it. Do you see it?
I see a shadow there. It looks like a figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was taken at probably right before the sun came out, probably about 7 o'clock. It's before the time change when it's still dark at 7 o'clock.
And the one that's
in the
closer
morning.
to you also has what looks like something trying to manifest behind it. It's not pareidolia or, obviously not a Photoshop or anything, but there's
Yeah, there looks
definitely
like something there. And
discoloration.
I mean, honestly, I don't know that it would be a ghost I mean, there's interdimensional beings everywhere, and there's
Yeah.
things that cross over into our energy fields at all times. I mean, it could be anything. But the first thing I got, my first impression of that, because the shadow I saw, and then if you look at the one where it's a little bit closer up, it almost looks like an animal shadow behind it, and I'm picking up like I mean, do you know what that property was prior to what it is now? Because
It's
I'm thinking these
all swampland that they built
yeah,
this
but
up.
a lot of times those swamps, the Native Americans used those swamps for burial grounds and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. So I kind of get the feeling these are animal spirits that are kind of like protectors of the land.
Yeah, because it
I feel
almost
it's
looked like a
indigenous.
dog, didn't it? It looked like a dog or
That's
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
thought. That's exactly what I thought.
right,
That
yeah, yeah. And
especially in the second picture when it came closer, you
mhm,
know.
yeah,
It's just the
I
way it
think
was
it's
moving and the way it was folding over itself as it was moving, because
yeah.
it wasn't doing it in any pattern or anything.
or even a
It was,
bear, or even more of a bear.
uh,
Well,
When I
yeah,
look
and I
at the
mean, I
face.
don't know, but all right, so we are ready to wrap this up. We've run out of time. I want to thank you for doing this,
I was glad to
and
come on and get y'all's, perspective on that different stuff. So, like I said, I never had any experience before for any paranormal stuff, but that house was just full of it. I would love to have that house investigated. That would be.
well, I don't know anybody in that area, but if anybody's out there in that area in Shelbyville, Indiana, let us know if you want to investigate that house. But thank you for coming on the show. Thank you,
Well,
Renee.
thanks for
Really
having me.
appreciate it. Thanks
Thank
Renee,
so
you
it
much.
was
for
nice
having me back.
And
It
this
was
was
nice to meet
very,
you.
very interesting. And it'd be interesting to know if anything else comes your way, because you seem to be attracting some stuff for you right there.
I'm hoping not, to be honest with you.
Just remember, you're always in control.
Yes,
No
I
matter
know. I
always
will
in,
remember that.
you were
When I was
always in control.
when I was in that house, that's what I felt. I said, I'm in control here, and it wasn't, I felt like there was no harm going to come to me. So what if a couple of chairs, a couple of cabinets are open, that's the way it's going to be. But and that seance thing got too far gone, and that's
Well,
what scared me.
I would say stick with no seances for a while. I would
Yeah.
kind of refrain from
I
that.
don't know what
But
it's
anyway, I want to thank everybody for
seance.
joining us this week for
Thank
another
you for
episode
having
of
me.
Scary Stories, and thank you for sharing your scary story. And Renee, thank you for your input. Thanks a
Thank
lot,
you for having
guys.
me back.
And we will see everybody again next week for another episode of Scary Stories with Kalila. Good night,
Good night,
everybody.
everybody.
All right. Good night, everybody.